Hello and happy Sunday, or whenever it is that you're watching this. Welcome back to another episode of Unique Moments, where we take a moment to breathe, take a moment to pause, reconnecting our mind, body, and spirit. So, the card we're pulling for this episode is forgiveness. Forgiveness. That's a big word. I'm going to look up the definition of forgiveness. Let's just see what this actually means. Forgiveness. The act of releasing resentment, anger, and the desire for revenge towards someone who has wronged you. It is a conscious decision to let go of negative feelings associated with an offense rather than simply forgetting or condoning the harmful act, according to the Greater Good Science Center. Interesting. Forgiveness can be a powerful tool for healing and personal growth, promoting mental well being and allowing individuals to move forward from past hurts. Key aspects of forgiveness: reconciliation, letting go negative emotions, empowerment, healing. Forgiveness is distinct from condoning or excusing the offense or forgetting that it happened. That's a big thing. I was just talking with one of my coworkers about that. Forgive and forget, forgive and forget, forgive and forget. Because she was saying, I can forgive something. I can forgive someone, but I'm not going to forget that you did that to me. And in my mind, in my heart, the way that I conceptualize forgiveness, I feel like if you don't forget the offense and not condoning it, not saying that it's okay that you hurt me like this, it's okay that, you did XYZ to me. It's not that we're saying it's okay, but it's like, I feel like if you are holding on to it in the sense of, oh, but I'll never forget what you did to me, I'll forgive you. I've made peace with you. I've made peace in my heart, but I'm never going to forget what you did. I feel like that's just as good as saying you've not forgiven the offense. And again, that's not condoning it or saying that what you did to me was okay. But by forgetting it and by letting it go and by releasing that negative emotion, by releasing the unforgiving state, it says like, okay, like I put this to rest, like I put this to bed. It's forgotten. All is forgiven, all is forgotten. And I don't know why that makes people like tense. Like just because you forget something exactly doesn't make it okay. It's like I'm just not going to bring it up again, because my coworker, she was saying like we could be, doing well and doing fine, and then like something triggers me and I remember that offense. I remember what you did to me. But my thought process around that is, if you've truly forgiven that person in your heart, if you've truly forgiven that person with your soul, with your spirit, with all of your might, you have no hate in your heart for them, you have no malice in your heart for them, all is forgiven, water under the bridge. There wouldn't be anything to trigger. There wouldn't be anything for you to trigger. Like when we go to poke the wound, or when I do something that reminds you of that offense, or something that, like, if you've forgiven me and we've moved on and we've moved past and we're building a new life, we're on a new trajectory, we are in a new timeline, we are in a new vibration. There's nothing, and maybe it's a perfect world and it's a hope, but there should be nothing, or I would think that there would be nothing that I can say or do or bring up that would cause you to resent me, cause you to feel anger toward me. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be triggered, because naturally, if you're put in the same situation again, or if someone hurt you and then someone did the same thing to you, of course it's easy to be triggered and to think back to when that happened. But I think when you truly forgive something or someone or a circumstance, or it, it doesn't strike a chord anymore, or it shouldn't strike a chord anymore. And I dare say, if it does still strike that chord, if you do still get upset, if you do still feel anger and resentment and sadness and like I hate you, then honey, you have not forgiven. You have not forgiven yourself. You have not forgiven the other. You have not forgiven the offense. You have not forgiven the situation. You never forgave nothing. You are holding on to that thing. you are holding on to that thing for dear life. And that's the bigger question. Why are you holding on to unforgiveness? And I think the biggest reason why people do this is because they think if they let it go, they think if they stop bringing it up, they think if they stop talking about it, if they stop reminding you what you did every single chance they get, that you're going to forget and do it again. And I think that's the underlying fear. But it's like I think at the end of the day, it's about opening your heart space. It's about, is your heart open enough to, one, recover from that hurt or whatever was done to you? Is your heart open enough to repair the damage that has been done, whether you were the offender or the person who the offense was committed against? Is your heart open enough to mend that? And if it's not, it will never be mended. That's why people who hold grudges for years and years and years, people who like just don't speak anymore. On one side of it, you could say it's forgiven, it's let go. We just don't need to speak anymore. We don't need to interact. And both of us are on the same page about that. And just because we don't speak and don't have a relationship and don't talk doesn't mean there's unforgiveness there. That could be true. The other side of that, there is so much unforgiveness. I'm never speaking to this person again, and you think you're okay. You think you're okay ignoring and pushing away and cutting people off, and maybe you are okay mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. Maybe you are really okay. You're not hurting, you're not missing them, you don't need them, you're not yearning. Like maybe you are truly okay in your state of being of unforgiveness. Sure, but I think it's going to show up. It's going to come back. Um because something is not healed there. If we're reconnecting the parts of ourselves, if we're reconnecting our minds, our bodies, our spirits, there can't be any clink in the chain. Chink in the chain, clink, chink. There can't be any like disharmony. I feel like unforgiveness is synonymous with disharmony. Things are not harmonizing. You have like that little area that you need to look at, that relationship that you just ghosted and never fixed, and it's still bothering you. It's still bothering you, but you've just not addressed it for years and years and years. So it's not in your mind, out of sight, out of mind. And that kind of transitions to the mind. We're talking about the mind today, but um, Grace writes about forgiveness in a very poetic way in her blog posts on touchedbygrace.blog. And so she's a Christian. And I think in theory, it feels like they should be experts at forgiveness. They should know how this works. And because they have the love of God, they have the love of Jesus, and you know, love your neighbor as yourself and all the things, feels like they should know about that one. And sometimes I think for Christians or religious people in general, that can be the hardest because it tasks you with the challenge of seeing people how God sees people. And in God's eyes, we are perfect. We are all perfect, imperfections and all, flaws and all. And in our eyes, our human eyes, that we're looking at these people who have wronged us, these offenses who have wronged us, um, it's difficult. And Grace talks about how some of her unforgiveness was pointed at and directed at God. And how do you forgive that? How do you forgive things that hurt you? How do you forgive? And she also talks about people who are no longer here, people who have transitioned. How do you forgive when you can't talk to that person, when you can't directly reconcile with that person? What does that path to forgiveness looks like? And so I think it looks like a bunch of different things. She talks about you can either write a letter, you can burn it. It's all about the energy again with the heart space. Like, yeah, it's something that is very simple in theory to do, especially practically you can say I forgive you or all is forgiven, but making sure it's meaningful, making sure it's impactful, that's a harder thing to convey. That's a harder thing to guarantee. And maybe it's warranted. Maybe someone did you so wrong. Maybe someone did you so dirty. And you're just like, it's unforgivable. I think, my personal opinion, things like that will happen. Whether you believe in God running the show, whether you think you're running the show, you're creating your reality, God's creating your reality, is all ordained, it's all random, whatever you believe. I think that those situations will happen to challenge us and to force us to grow in our capacity, in our capacity for forgiveness, in our capacity for experiencing wrongdoing, in our capacity for opening our heart, extending ourselves, opening up to love, seeing how we bounce back from being hurt, from being disrespected, from being abused. How do we bounce back from that? How do we forgive? If you're not put in a situation where someone has done you wrong or betrayed you, I guess more power to you. You've never had to experience that, but you also lack something because you've never been put in the space or had the opportunity to develop a capacity or to exercise, is a better way of saying it, maybe to exercise that forgiveness muscle, which is very important because there's going to be a time. There's just going to be a time. Life is too long. People say life is short. Life is long. I don't know. I think at some point or another, it's inevitable to be tasked and faced with and put in a position or put in a situation to either be the forgiver or ask for forgiveness. However it happens, I think that's a pivotal point in your life, in your journey, and you have to reconcile something in yourself. You just have to reconcile something in yourself. Do I have the capacity to forgive? How does this make me feel? How am I connected to my emotions? How do I react when people hurt me? How do I react when I hurt people? How do people react when I hurt them? It's a good way to be exposed to more life experience and more capacity. So that's what I'll say about that. And then we are discussing the mind. So the brain is an organ. It's a part of your body. It's like the hardware. Your mind is like the software. So everybody has the brain. More or less, you have the same parts of the brain, the same functions of the brain. We all have the same functionality. But the mind, who said a mind is a terrible thing to waste? I have to find that. The mind is something different. The mind is something that we control, that we can influence, that we have dominion over. What you feed your mind, what goes into your mind, and that's on so many different levels, that shapes you. That shapes how you live your life. That shapes how you interact with others. That shapes how you interact with the world, how the world interacts with you. What is in your mind is what you project, is what you are going to carry with you, and how you experience your reality and how you experience others around you. And it's such a precious thing because it's so moldable. That's one of the things I find fascinating. You can teach yourself languages, you can teach yourself instruments, you can teach yourself new skills. The brain is a wonderful ball of neuroplasticity that can expand and stretch and and do wonderful, amazing things. And some of the ways you do that: learning new languages, learning new things, reading, expanding your conscious awareness, meditating. There are three parts essentially the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. And so the conscious mind is the part that we're aware of. So that's the part of our mind that we use to critically think, to think in general, our day-to-day, how we make decisions. We're consulting with ourselves, our thinking mind, our thinking brain. We're aware of the things that we're thinking. And then we have the subconscious mind, which literally runs the show. Your subconscious mind develops between ages 1 and 7, and then it just adds on after that. But ages 1 through 7 is really where your subconscious mind is being established. And so essentially, your subconscious mind is where you store all of your beliefs, all of your patterns, all of your early childhood influences, your emotions, how you regulate, how you soothe, what you do in stressful situations. It's that subconscious that we're not aware of. It plays out in our day to day every single day, but we're not aware of it. We may have a thought about how the world should be run, or we may have a thought about relationships, like gender roles. And maybe that's not something, maybe it is something we're conscious about, maybe it is consciously we think that this is this is how these are supposed to go. But I think gender roles, or just the way you view relationships in general, that can be a very subconscious thing, because a lot of the times that's modeled to us. Our parents, our aunts, uncles, older siblings, people, whoever we see model in relationships, that's pouring into our subconscious. The subconscious learns and grasps through images and through repetition and through trauma. And so when we're exposed to things repetitively, when we're exposed to traumatic things, and when we see those things, it imparts into our subconscious of this is how the world is supposed to function. So if you've seen traditional relationships all of your life, where the woman is in the kitchen, the man is making the money, the woman is taking care of the home, the man is protecting, providing, subconsciously that's how you're walking around and you're viewing relationships. Maybe it's just something that, you're like, oh, men do this, women do this, and you don't know why you think that, but that's the subconscious mind. So that's the stuff that's in there, that's really really ingrained in there, that's hard to change because it's deep. It's like our beliefs. Our core beliefs are embedded in our subconscious mind. It's our habits. It's why we do certain things that we do. Some of the things that we do on autopilot. I'm just a clean person. I'm what did I say? I'm a neat freak. I am OCD. I just like things the way that I like. Somewhere you learn that, whether you want to do the work to learn why you are the way you are, that's another thing, that's your own therapy, whatever. But it's our habits, it's our emotions, it's certain influences in our life that we're not consciously aware of, but that still affect us on our day to day. And then the unconscious, so that's going to be the deepest level of the mind. Our unconscious is active, or we see it play out, I guess, when we're sleeping, because you're not conscious. Like, your heart is beating, you're breathing, like those things are unconscious. Like, they're happening. I know I'm breathing because I'm alive right now, but I'm not conscious of the fact that I'm breathing. It's just going on in the background. And so that's going to be the deepest level of our mind, like things that we don't even think about, things that we don't even pay attention. I'm not conscious of how I am holding this microphone right now. It's an unconscious action that's happening. I just know, I pick it up and I put it in my hand, and it works. It works. Things that change our mind is just new information. Learning new information, taking in new information, being exposed to new people, new things, new places, new ideas. They say when you travel, it upgrades your DNA, like it upgrades your system, because you're literally being exposed physically, mentally, visually. You're seeing new things, you're seeing new people, you're seeing new structures, new environments, new pieces of land, of architecture, of the world. Like, you're literally exposing yourself to more pictures, to more phenomena, to more feeling, to more people, to more accents. You're expanding your mind in all those avenues. So when you travel, when you read, when you're opening your mind, when you're intaking more energy and more information, by whatever way you do that, you're expanding your mind, you're expanding your consciousness. Trauma also changes the mind. you could say in a negative way, but depending on how your life turns out, a lot of trauma ends up being very impactful and very useful and very helpful. Although it's dark and although it's something that people don't like to talk about and people don't like to go there and people don't like to relive and rehash, and I don't think we need to relive and rehash our trauma, but I do think it's very, very key and it serves a key purpose. And trauma definitely changes the brain and changes the mind on a scientific level, on a neurological level. People who have been traumatized in life, whether early in life, later in life, midlife, they're different. Their brain chemistry is different. Their mind is different. The way they perceive situations is different. Someone who is traumatized in relationships or traumatized in the home, they don't view connections the same way. They don't view relationships the way that people who are not traumatized view them. They don't view um, love the way people who haven't been traumatized view love. They view things differently. They have a different lens, a different way of looking at the world and relating to the world because trauma impacts your mind and your brain and your consciousness and how you think and how you feel and how you act. And a lot of the times, it's going to come out in a subconscious way because a lot of the times when we do experience trauma, we suppress it or we repress it either consciously or unconsciously. And anything that you suppress, anything that you resist or repress, it, it tends to come out in other ways because it doesn't just go away. We don't have like a trash can bin in our minds, in our brains. It goes to another compartment, it goes to another folder, and it's still related to everything else that's going on. So it comes out in other ways. And that I've seen and experienced happens with trauma because consciously you don't want to think about it. Consciously, I don't want to think about how I was traumatized when I was 8 and there's an experience that I've experienced that I can never let go and never forget and never undo. No one wants to think about that consciously, so you put it in the subconscious bin or you put it in the unconscious bin where it's really, really repressed deep down. And then we don't know it's there until something triggers it or someone triggers it. And a lot of the times it goes it goes under our radar. It goes under the consciousness of how we think. So trauma changes your mind. Speaking to people, talking to people, adopting new beliefs, new habits, being exposed to new information. I think I said that with like learning, but that also changes and alters your mind, alters your state of mind. I think beyond being exposed to something new, because we can be exposed all day, but it's what are you receiving, what are you taking in, what are you processing, what are you allowing to actually penetrate through your conscious mind to get into your subconscious mind to reprogram, to rewire, to relearn new beliefs, new habits, new things. Your mind runs the show. Change your mind, change your life. The last way that I wrote down to change your mind is drugs, psychedelic drugs specifically. And it can go one or two ways. So traditionally, psychedelics, LSD, psilocybin, DMT, ayahuasca, peyote, all of these mind altering, consciousness altering drugs, pharmaceuticals, whatever you want to call them, they change your mind in a fundamental way. And the way that they do that is by expanding your consciousness and expanding and showing you new avenues and new ways. I have not tried all of those substances, so I cannot speak on all of those substances, but I do think I watched a documentary one time about people doing LSD ceremonies, ayahuasca ceremonies, and as medicine. Like as medicine. I think now in the day that we live in, especially the younger generation, like mushrooms, that's another one, the psilocybin, like it's become more like, yes, people use it to awaken and people use it to essentially get out of their selves and get out of their way of being, way of thinking, and to expand. But I don't think they use it in the way that traditionally cultures and religions have used these healing medicines in the past, because essentially that's what they are. Either way, it's a tool, and people and it's a tool to help you see outside of the box, and it's not for everyone because of how your mind is set up. Some people can have one psychedelic experience and be on a whole new trajectory and be set up for life. Some person can have one negative psychedelic experience, be on a whole new trajectory, and be mentally hospitalized because they've lost their mind, because it did something. It altered their consciousness. It altered the way that they think. It altered the way that they relate to the world, and it altered the way that they relate to reality. And sometimes that is a very good thing. Sometimes that is a very good thing, to be able to step outside of yourself and to step outside of the situation. Say you are severely depressed. In the documentary that I was watching, people microdosed for their mood. If they were depressed, they microdosed LSD, they microdose psilocybin, because it does open up those dopamine receptors. It does open up those good feeling hormones, the serotonin, and it gives you clarity in a way where maybe you are missing before. Maybe it pulls you out of this loop that you're in, this mundane experience that you're feeling day in and day out. I do the same thing. I go to work Monday, Friday, 9 to 5. Then I have the weekend. Then I go on vacation. And then I do this thing. And then I have this life. And this is just my life on repeat. And psychedelics can be a very powerful tool to get you off of repeat. Now you can just disrupt your own schedule and that would have the same impact. But going back to the subconscious mind, our habits, our behaviors, the things that we do on the day to day, especially the longer that we do them, because the more we repeat, repetition, we are impacting our subconscious mind. So the more I repeat this Monday through Friday work schedule for the last 5 years, for the last 10 years, for the last 20 years, that becomes deeply ingrained in my subconscious mind that this is who I am, this is how I operate, and this is how I work. What if you don't want to do that anymore? What if you don't want to do that anymore? Sometimes it's not enough to just say, "Oh, I want a new life and I want to change my life." Sometimes if you are that strong, if you are that convicted, but the mind is a very powerful thing. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. The mind is a very powerful thing. So if you have 40 years of essentially being on autopilot and you've trained your subconscious mind that this is our life and this is what we do, it's going to be very, 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 very difficult, not impossible, but very difficult to just wake up and do something different. And psychedelics can be a tool. Meditation can be a tool to disrupt that by opening your mind, by simply just opening up a new neural pathway, something that you didn't see before, something that you didn't recognize before. And now you have another tool to use in your toolbox to change your mind, to expand your mind, to expand your thinking, to expand your consciousness. So that's all I got to say on the mind. And until next time.